Here we go again. Hello everybody and welcome to Philosophy 2405A. That's Philosophy of the Paranormal. I'm Dr. Josh Redstone and I'm going to be your instructor for this course. And of course this class is being offered through the Philosophy Department at Carleton University in Ottawa, Ontario. And this is part of the late summer session. So I imagine all of my students already know all of that. But if there are any other viewers out there who do not happen to be in my class, you're welcome to come along for the ride. Enjoy the lectures if you want. Obviously, you don't have to do any of the other term work, unlike my students. But I think this is going to be an interesting class. And today's lecture is all about getting you up to speed on what our schedule will be for the rest of the term, what our goals will be, our learning objectives will be, what kind of work you'll be doing as part of this class, and just kind of an orientation to the philosophy of the paranormal. Very briefly, of course. So, with that said, let's get into it. So why don't we start by going over the course description briefly. Well, if you refer to slide number 3, or the first page on your course outline, which is available on CU Learn, you'll read that in this class, we will critically examine claims, concepts, and theories related to the paranormal. That is, phenomena which purportedly lie outside of the realm of everyday experience and/or scientific explanation. Using an interdisciplinary approach, and this will be key in this class, we will examine the scientific character of purported paranormal phenomena, in addition to their relation to philosophical questions surrounding human nature, thought, perception, and reality. All right. So this is a philosophy class, of course, but as I mentioned, it's also going to be a highly interdisciplinary class. We won't just be reading philosophical materials. We'll also be reading some literature, some early psychology, some more recent cognitive psychology, some cognitive science stuff. We won't just be reading things, but I will probably direct you toward materials like video lectures or television programs that will critically assess. So this will be very interdisciplinary, albeit primarily philosophical in the sense that we're going to try and tie these paranormal claims, concepts, research methodologies, and so on and so forth. We're going to try and relate that to philosophical questions, mainly epistemic and metaphysical questions, but I won't limit us to those particular kinds of questions. But we'll be examining these kinds of paranormal phenomena, claims, methods, so on and so forth, through a metaphysical and epistemological lens. For example, trying to work out what the implications for certain metaphysical theories about nature or reality or the human being or the human mind, what would some of the implications for those kinds of theories be if certain paranormal phenomena turned out to be real? Or, conversely, how can philosophical frameworks, metaphysical or epistemic or otherwise, inform how we assess paranormal phenomena or claims of paranormal activity, so on and so forth. So it'll be highly interdisciplinary, yet it will remain philosophical at its core. And I think it'll be a lot of fun to tackle these questions in this way. But that's it for the course, or not the entire course outline, but the description of this class. Next, I want to say a little bit about myself and how the course will unfold and why I'm excited to teach this course, even though I'm kind of a skeptic about the paranormal. All right, so as I mentioned on the course outline, which is available on CU Learn, this is actually just a tentative schedule. It is subject to change, but if any changes do occur, I won't make them without consulting all of you. So the plan is to stick to this unless some unforeseen circumstances arise. In any case, week 1, the week of July 29th, is this week, where we simply have this intro and course outline lecture, and we'll have another brief lecture on parapsychology and the paranormal. And here, the plan is just to talk a little bit about the history of the paranormal, or more accurately, the history of the term paranormal. We'll discuss a few of the planned examples of paranormal phenomena that we will cover, which I'll also talk about a little bit later on in this section of the lecture when I'm talking about what we find on slide 6. And we'll talk a little bit about parapsychology as well, because parapsychology was an interesting, I'll say, effort at starting a new scientific discipline that was dedicated toward understanding paranormal phenomena. Of course, as we'll see, parapsychology limited itself to, I guess, what we could call parapsychological phenomena like telepathy, clairvoyance, psychokinesis, and purported phenomena like this. But as we'll also see in that lecture, paranormal as a word has come to encompass more than just what was studied by parapsychology. So some people will include things like, UFOs or something, or cryptozoology under that paranormal umbrella. A parapsychologist wouldn't. They would be limited to things like extrasensory perception or something like that, right? Nonetheless, it's important to what we're going to be talking about this term, because so much of what we will talk about has been studied by parapsychologists, even though sometimes we'll kind of deviate from that a little bit. In week 2, we're going to devote ourselves specifically to the uncanny. This is kind of a detour, especially given that we're going to start talking about psychology, parapsychology, and the paranormal. Paranormal is a word which entered English at the beginning of the 20th century, and parapsychology as a discipline really got going in the 1930s and kept going into the 1970s, and sort of after that time it was kind of made evident that there wasn't really anything for parapsychologists to do, as we'll see. Uncanniness, by the way, is this kind of familiar yet foreign, strange, eerie feeling that we get. And some early psychologists devoted some effort to understanding why this feeling comes to occur. This is the kind of feeling that might be associated with something that could be considered paranormal, like bumping into a doppelganger, or feeling a ghostly presence, right? Or feeling that you're being watched, or feeling creeped out by things that go bump in the night. I think there's a lot that this early psychological work on the psychology of the uncanny can do for explaining some purported paranormal phenomena. And I'm really interested to talk about that, and that'll be the subject of week 2. Then in week 3, we start to get into more traditionally paranormal stuff. And again, this is tentative. Probably as I've listed these topics here, it seems a little sparse. We'll go into more depth, and we'll take a bit more of a broad survey of things than what's really indicated here. For example, in week 3, lecture 5, I've indicated is about ghosts. Well, we'll probably be quite expansive in our discussion about ghosts. We could tie it to the uncanny. We could tie it to modern, efforts at ghost hunting. We can talk about purported hauntings. But we can also talk about the prospect of survival of the mind after death, which is a good opportunity to tie this into a philosophical debate, say substance dualism versus a variety of monism like physicalism. So that's going to be something really cool. And likewise with lecture 6 when we talk about ESP. Probably I won't limit this to ESP. I'll probably talk about other purported psionic phenomena. But again, it'll be a little bit more expansive and inclusive than I've indicated here on the course outline. In week 4, we move to UFOs and ancient aliens. This is one of those things that's really outside of, that parapsychological umbrella, but is nonetheless lumped in to the paranormal by a lot of thinkers. So we'll be talking about that in some detail. And this will be an opportunity to not do so much reading, but perhaps a little more watching of something. Perhaps an episode of Ancient Aliens that you can critically assess for one of your critical responses. So for week 8, I thought we could talk a little bit about dreams, out-of-body experiences, astral projection, that kind of thing, because there's a lot of really interesting examples in this literature of how we can explain purportedly paranormal phenomena related to dreams and out-of-body experiences using the tools of psychology rather than parapsychology. And we'll also take a look at how initially, at least in particular, the study of an interesting phenomenon called lucid dreams moved out of parapsychology and into, I guess what I could call mainstream psychology. That'll be a really interesting exercise in looking at how ideas go from pre-scientific to scientific, I guess, if you want to put it like that. And speaking of parapsychology, we will talk more about parapsychology as well as another branch of psychology called anomalistic psychology during week 5 in lecture 9. So parapsychology is, of course, aimed at explaining paranormal phenomena, but anomalistic psychology doesn't seek a paranormal explanation for paranormal phenomena. Rather, anomalistic psychology tries to explain weird things like cases of deja vu or precognition or what have you, naturalistically using the tools of psychology. So I'll talk more about the difference between the two fields when we actually come to that lecture. But I think it would be an interesting exercise, kind of following on the theme of lecture 8, of how you move from seeking a sort of paranormal explanation versus seeking a naturalistic explanation for purportedly paranormal phenomena. All right. On lecture 10, we're going to change it up a little bit. Lecture 10 will be devoted to how to write a research essay, because as we'll see, writing a research essay is one of the requirements of this class. So you'll have to write a research essay on something related to what we talk about, and I will go over how to do that well. Here we'll talk about everything from how to do good research, how to cite that research properly, how to come up with a good thesis statement, how to structure your paper, so on and so forth. I'll also probably give you a rubric for your final paper during this lecture so that you know how to tackle things. The last 3 lectures will be special topics lectures. I'll explain that in detail in a moment, but basically what that means is that you, the students, will come up with possible topics, or a range of possible topics that I could lecture on, and I will put them all to a vote, and I'll lecture on the most popular topics as chosen by you. But anyway, that's it for the tentative lecture schedule. Why don't we talk about the breakdown of the grades in this class next? So if you refer to the course outline or to slide number 7 in the slides that accompany this lecture, you can see a breakdown of the items that your evaluation in this class will be based upon. So there are 4 critical responses. Those are each worth 10% of your grade. Your special topic suggestion will be worth 5%. That's an easy way to get marks, by the way. And your essay topic proposal is also worth 5%. Your final essay is worth 40%. And the due dates for all of this can be found, again, on slide number 7 or in the course outline, which is posted on CU Learn. So, I'll talk a little bit about more about each of these components of your evaluation. So, for the research essay, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a research essay. I haven't set a word limit yet. But I will do that before, obviously before too much time passes by. Of course, all of that information will be available on the rubric for the essay that I will also prepare for you. In any case, the research essay will kind of serve as like your take-home exam. So it'll be due on the last day of class, and that is August 23rd at 11:59 p.m. So, Obviously, you also have to propose a topic for the essay, and the reason is so that I can give you some feedback before you get right into writing the essay. The proposal is not, it doesn't have to be very long. It just has to be a rough idea of what you want to argue, the kind of research you want to do. If you have some sources in mind, you can list those, although that won't be strictly necessary. So you should just write a 1 or 2 paragraph topic proposal for your research essay. That's worth 5% of your grade once again, and that will be due on July 31st at 11:59. And then this way I can give everybody a little bit of feedback on their topic before they get, very, very far ahead writing their essay. So as for the critical responses, there are 4 of those, each worth 10%. I think you should aim for probably about 750 words in length, not shorter. You can go a little bit longer if you want, but do not go under 750 words. Basically, the idea here is that you respond to a topic or an idea that we encounter in class. Now, there's 4 critical responses, but there's 2 lectures a week for a good part of the class. So basically what this means is that you can pick any idea from one of the previous lectures of, say the previous week when relative to when the critical response is due, and you can talk about that idea or whatever in your response. So for example, for this week, this isn't really a proper lecture. You'll only have 1 lecture to respond to, and that'll be lecture number 2, which is about parapsychology and the paranormal. So I'll have that lecture up by this Friday. And of course, the critical response will be due the Friday after that, on July 10th. So you have a week to prepare the response. But on the subsequent responses, say the week of July 10th, where we will have 2 lectures on the uncanny. Then the following Friday, your critical response will be due. And again, you don't have to do a whole comprehensive thing. You can just pick one idea from one of either of those 2 lectures and assess it critically or respond to it. Tell me what you think. This is just, again, an idea that I hope will get you or not an idea, but an exercise that will allow you to engage with the material a little bit more, and also to practice your writing skills. This is also a great way to iron out possible essay topics too. So you might find as you write your critical responses that there's a kind of theme there with regard to how you're responding to certain ideas, and that might inform your essay. So that's also why I've done it this way. Okay, finally for the special topics. As you can see from the course outline, we're obviously not going to have a chance to talk about absolutely everything that's related to the paranormal. So the special topics will be chosen by you, the students. And basically, I'm going to open up a little activity on CU Learn where everybody can submit an idea or 2 for a special topics lecture. It's got to be related to the paranormal, obviously, but it doesn't have to be something we've already covered. Or it can be related to something we've covered, but maybe going into a little more depth or whatever. So this suggestion will be worth 5%. Obviously, not everyone has to do this, but it's an easy 5% to just tell me what ideas you might like to hear more about. I will then categorize them and create a poll on CU Learn, and you can vote for your favorite topic, and I'll lecture on the most popular the 3 most popular topics. What else? Before I forget, do make sure you have a look at the course outline, particularly with an eye on the section regarding late assignments, the policies on lateness and stuff for term work, plagiarism especially, which I'll probably talk about a little bit more explicitly when I talk about how to write an essay, but definitely make sure you're familiar with the policies on plagiarism. And of course, the policies on various accommodations, like academic accommodations, illness, religious, all kinds of accommodations are there if you need to take advantage of those. As well as other important dates and deadlines, of course. one of the last things I want to talk about briefly is how to get an A in this class. Now, because we're not meeting in person, and it is difficult enough to get an A in a class when things are going normally, as opposed to when things are weird, like right now with COVID-19, this is going to compound things. But I've got a couple of recommendations for you if you want to do well in this course. The first thing is to keep on top of all the announcements that I post. I post announcements regarding, specifics for assignments, critical responses, anything maybe I forgot to mention here could potentially go up in an announcement on CU Learn. And of course, you get those announcements in your email inbox, so check your student email regularly. Of course, read the readings, engage with the readings. The readings I'm choosing for this class are interesting. Some of them might seem a little dry, but they are nonetheless interesting if you really get into the nitty-gritty of them. And they will be very important for understanding my lectures. Indeed, my lectures are meant to clarify and elucidate the readings, as well as to talk about some interesting ideas that are raised therein. So do keep on top of the readings. By the way, the readings are all available on CU Learn. There is no textbook for this course. All of the readings will be provided by me on CU Learn at least a week in advance of the lecture that those readings pertain to. So do read the readings. Watch the video lectures. This is going to be important for doing your critical responses, doing your essay. I mean, some instructors aren't doing this. Some instructors are kind of just, leaving the students to the readings and to the lecture notes that they might have prepared. I think these lectures are helpful, and, they kind of help us retain somewhat of a sense of normalcy, right? You can still have an instructor lecture to you, even if you're not in the same place as the instructor, so that's good. And of course, digest all of the other important materials as well. I mean, we're not just going to be looking at readings, we're going to be looking at, videos of things, or perhaps video lectures or documentaries might be something that we take a look at this term. I may also provide some readings that are recommended, albeit not required. If I do that, take a look at them at your convenience, because they may come in helpful for your essay. All right, interact with me as much as you can. Get on Discord, get on CU Learn. I've got a question and answer forum on CU Learn that I've set up. If you have questions to put to me or to your other classmates, or if you have a topic you'd like to discuss with your other classmates, put it up there on CU Learn and everybody can get some discussion going. Or do the same thing on Discord. Or reach out to me on Discord or via email. Or if you're not feeling shy, you can do it in the comment section of this video. Main thing is, discuss things with me and with each other. It will be to your benefit. You will get more out of this class if we try and make up for the lack of in-person discussion as much as we can, because that's where philosophy classes are really fun, right? The discussion that you have in class, questions, answers, arguments, debates, that's the fun part of taking a philosophy class. And that's also the saddest part for me of a lot of this consequences of COVID for my teaching, is that I don't have that. But we can try and make up for it as best we can with YouTube comments, Discord, question and answer forums on CU Learn, and all of that other stuff. So do interact with me and do interact with one another as much as you can. And finally, if you're not sure about anything, again, just get in touch with me. Ask me. I'm here. I try and answer emails and messages on Discord within 24 hours. So ask me if you're not sure. And if I can do anything for you, if you have any points for me, how can I make something a little easier to digest or easier to approach, or anything at all, let me know. Communicate with me. This is the key. And if you do all of those things, and you follow my other recommendations when it comes to, say, your critical responses And your essay, which I will talk about in due time, talk a little bit more about the critical responses in our next essay, and of course, our critical responses in our next lecture, and a little bit more about the essay. Well, we have an entire lecture devoted to that, so I will discuss all of that in more detail in due time. But if you do all of these things, and all of the other things that I recommend throughout the class, you will do well. I can guarantee it. And I want you to do well, because that means I've done well. If the class does not succeed, that doesn't mean I have a bad class. That means you have a bad instructor. And I don't want to be a bad instructor. So do all of these things, keep in touch with me, talk amongst yourselves. You are sure to do well in this class, and you're sure to enjoy this class too. All right, so why don't we wrap it up for today? Well, this has been about it for our quick little orientation to this class. For our next lecture, as I mentioned earlier, I will be talking about parapsychology and the paranormal. And there are a couple of readings on See You Learn that you'll want to take a look at to make sure that you're up to speed with that lecture. There's a paper by Hyman, written in 2001, and a paper by Penman, written in 2015, or published, I should say. The first paper is, well, it's not really a paper, it's a bit of an encyclopedia entry on parapsychology. Written by one of the more skeptical members of the paranormal / anomalistic psychology area. So that'll be good to take a look at. It's kind of a survey of the history of parapsychological research. And the Penman paper concerns the usage of the word paranormal, which I'm not sure exactly how helpful this will be for understanding what the paranormal is per se, but it'll give us a kind of springboard to talk about that. So that's not something that paper directly deals with, but it'll, you know, if you're familiar with it, then you'll be able to use that as a kind of platform to jump into the paranormal with me. So that's what we'll be talking about next week. Of course, your first critical response will be due on July 10th. So you'll have to respond to an idea in this forthcoming lecture. And this lecture should be up by Friday, possibly Saturday, because we do have the holiday this week. So in any case, it won't be a super long lecture. I'm going to talk about these two papers, some of the ideas therein. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my interest in this area, the way I approach this, which is as a skeptic of the paranormal. And you might be wondering, Josh, if you're a skeptic about the paranormal, if you don't believe in the paranormal, why do you think we should study it? Why on earth are you teaching a class about it? I don't just want to rain on everybody's parade, and if you're interested in purportedly paranormal phenomena, I'm not here just to tell you that's all wrong and dumb and stuff. Rather, I think there are interesting phenomena here that can be explained naturalistically, which are not made less interesting by being explainable in naturalistic terms. And also, there's some really interesting intersections here with some of this stuff and my own present research interests, and with some of my previous interests, the same kind of interests that drew me to learning about philosophy and learning about the mind. So, I think it would be really cool to talk about that stuff next time. Kind of explain myself as this skeptic philosopher guy who's explaining the paranormal to you, who's explaining something he doesn't believe in to you. Anyway, I guess that leads me to my final point, is that this class has got to be like a cool, interesting, safe spot to discuss different ideas related to this stuff, right? A lot of people are going to come to this from a similar slant that I am. You know, they're going to be skeptical. Others are going to be a little bit more open-minded. Others are going to maybe believe in certain paranormal phenomena, or be more open to the possibility of certain phenomena existing, like, you know, ghosts and stuff like that. And that's fine. I want everybody to be respectful of one another if you engage with one another in the comments. Remember, the idea here is that we're all learning together, including me. I'm learning some stuff by teaching this class as well. So that's what we'll talk about next time. And I'll say a little bit more finally about how to approach your critical responses next time too, since you'll have to write one about the next lecture. All right, so that's it. I've been Josh. Please call me Josh. Don't call me Professor Redstone. I hope you will all enjoy this class. I hope you found this little kind of setup video to our class helpful. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. But that's all for now. I'll see you guys next time.